Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister, Honorable Members of Parliament, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance, Development Partners, District, Local Government Chairpersons, Chief Administrative Officers, the speakers of the different districts in Uganda, you're welcome to this 7th Local Government Scorecard Report. My name is Patrick Kamara. I'm a broadcast journalist and I work with Wizards Foundation. I understand this initiative began in 2009. It has added value to our local governance, it has added value to our democracy, and of course it has added value to Uganda. I have seen citizens grow into demanding accountability from their leaders, but I have also seen citizens who are becoming so vibrant, not forgetting their civic responsibility and their civic duty as Ugandans to do what is required of them. So I see an aspect of ordinary people who demand better, but also who are ready to do what is required of them. I know amongst you here, there are those who used to be district speakers, but because of the scorecard, you have moved on to become now district chairpersons. I also know somebody who was a councillor, and because of the scorecard, you have worked hard, and now you are a speaker. So it appears this report or these scorecards have helped you as an individual, have helped your districts, and have ultimately helped Uganda. But I also know of a case that non-performers were retired through the ballot. So this scorecard, if you ask me, is like shedding a bright light into the inner works of the local governments. And that glare of that light, in a way, makes people work hard. They work with integrity, with dedication, because somebody is watching. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite Dr. Arthur Bainomujisha, Executive Director, Accord, to give us welcoming remarks and a bit of the background of why we're here. Dr. Bainomujisha, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention once again? we are trying to modify the program a little bit so that it can suit all of us, because some of our colleagues who are also key in this launch of the report are not yet here. But that will not stop us from moving ahead and launching the report, since we have the president of ULGA who's here, and we have all the district chairpersons who are representing the 35 districts where this scorecard was done. So I think, without wasting much more time, once again let me call upon the executive director of Accord, Dr. Arthur Bainomjisha, to speak to us. I don't know whether you want to speak from there or you want to come here. Please welcome with me with a round of applause, Dr. Arthur Bainomjisha.
You are very kind. Mr. Patrick Kamara, the moderator for this session. The president of Uganda Local Government Association, Mr. Mutabazi, Mr. Warara, who is representing the Minister of Local Government, the chairman, chairperson, board of DGF, I think in absentia, we're expecting him, the chairman, NGO, the National NGO Bureau, the board members of Accord, the head of programs, Democratic Governance Facility, Mr. Wim, who is here, Dr. Ezra Suruma, the Chancellor, Makerere University, and former Minister of Finance, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my pleasure to warmly welcome all of us to the launch of the 7th scorecard, the Local Government Council scorecard, which we do every after 2 years, after a very rigorous assessment that is done by a team of over 84 researchers spread around the 35 districts in the country where Accord and Uganda Local Government Association work, and of course verified by a team headed by the Director of Research at Accord to make sure that the margin of error is reduced. I want to warmly welcome you and appreciate that you are very busy people, especially the district leaders, the chairpersons, the cows, the speakers, the councillors, who have come and to attend and witness this launch. This is a very important time in the democratic decentralization of our country, because for a long time, decentralization had delivered a lot of dividends, but we had realized a bit of stagnation, reversals, and then that's how we came up with this local government scorecard initiative. I want in a special way to appreciate the support by the Democratic Governance Facility, who is here, who are represented here, and GAP, USAID, who provided the resources, enough resources for us to undertake this very expensive exercise of assessment and capacity build. Can we applaud them with a round of applause? I want to appreciate our board members who are here. We have, Accord has a robust regional board. We have actually we have a board meeting tomorrow, but some of our board members are represented here, and I would want to appreciate them. Professor Patricia Mbote, maybe a former Dean School of Law, University of Nairobi, just arrived. You could appreciate the Professor of Law, a Dean who has established universities. Dr. Monica Moja, all the way from the Democratic Republic of Tanzania. And Emeritus Bishop George Dr. Tibesigwa, but also the Vice Chancellor Valley University of Science and Technology in Bushenyi. That's a small sample of our board members, and I think others are coming. So I want to thank you for providing the oversight and leadership that has made ACCORD one of the best think tanks. As a matter of fact, ACCORD this year was ranked as #1 think tank in this country, and we are #3 in East Africa and 23 in Africa. So that's how you made us proud. So ladies and gentlemen, I will not take much time because we have a busy day, but I also want to appreciate the NBS television, which is telecasting this forum live across this country. Can we appreciate also NBS? So NBS has made it sure that what is happening here is in the living rooms of our people, but also in offices, and we'll also be on Twitter and Facebook, so that we can reach even our people in the diaspora. Mr. Moderator, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I look forward to fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arthur Inomujisha, Executive Director, ACCORD. And ladies and gentlemen, as you realize, we started in a manner that is not like it should have really been. Because at first I thought all the people we wanted on the panel were not here, but they're here. So allow me to again modify the program so at least we can follow how the protocol should be. And for that, because we know that the minister has a representative who should have been our guest of honor, the Honorable Kano Tombu Time, and since the representative of the guest of honor is here, we also have a retired bishop with us. It is important we respect our nation with the national anthem. It is important we respect God with a prayer, and then after that, then I'm sure God will bless our event and our nation, so we shall be able to move on well. So may I ask somebody who is at the public address system to play the national anthem, but before you rise up and stand and respect the national anthem, ladies and gentlemen.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Uzalendo pia mshikamano viwe msingi wa umoja wetu, na tulinde uhuru na amani. tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Viwandani na hata mashambani, tufanye kazi sote kwa makini, tujitoe kwa hali na mali, tuijenge jumuiya bora. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Remain standing. Let me ask my Lord Bishop to lead us in a prayer.
God, our Creator, we want to thank you so much because you are a God of order who works for and desires that we, the human beings, organize ourselves and perform in an excellent way to get the results you want us to have. We want to thank you for our nations, especially Uganda, the leadership. And today, as we stand to thank you, we continue to pray that you give us good guidance as usual, to punctuate and have the program of the day beautifully done as we launch the 2016-2017 Local Government Council's Scorecard report, making local governments work for better for your people. So guide us, Lord. Guide every speaker. Guide all of us, the participants, and we get what you want us to get. Through Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. May you get seated, ladies and gentlemen.
And as I sit, you sit, please. Some people don't realize that the Uganda national anthem is a prayer. Let's record that and keep praying by singing, citing the national anthem rather than leaving it to the machines. Ask the President of the Republic of Uganda, he will say, I said this some time back, and before my namesake passed on, Kakoma, that's how the change was, to sing it all, to pray together with the band, be informed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give him a round of applause because what he's saying is very important. If we love our nation and we are patriotic, we need to know our national anthem because that is what unites us as Ugandans, as opposed to leaving it to be played by the machine when you have no idea. If you look into our national anthem, it's true, it has got beautiful words that can unite us and make us one. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite the President of Uganda Local Government Association, George Mutabazi, to come and speak to us. Mr. Mutabazi, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Arthur, the Honorable Minister Representative, the board members of ACCORD, district chairpersons present, and other members, protocol observed. I am here on behalf of Uganda Local Government Association to appreciate the partnership between the Uganda Local Government Association and ACCORD. Ladies and gentlemen, most of you who are not local may not know what we experience in the local areas and local governments we read. It's my pleasure to thank Accord and the funders, in particular GAP and the DGF, who have endeavored to make us, or this program, to continue. Most local governments have a very big problem of conflicts, and these conflicts come as a result of lack of understanding. We politicians come to the office by winning elections. So most of us do think we must be winners 24/7. So we find ourselves into conflicts between our cows, the RDC, the political leaders and the civil servants. Government has little money to train, to induct us. We have so far inducted about 55 districts out of 121 districts. So you can imagine the conflicts between the local leaders. And once there is a conflict at the local government, there is no life. And once there is no life, there is no development. And once there is no development, there is no service delivery. And once there is no service delivery, the people suffer. Decentralization has been a mockery. Dr. Suruma, you gave us this with the right hand and you took it away with the left hand. We continue to fight decentralization. Centralization has been a problem. The biggest projects have been taken by the center and they continue to be taken by the center. We are basically meaningless in the local government down there. Our work with the civil society continues to be much more better with the center. I wish my minister was here. We are not fighting our own government, but we are trying to put things right. We continue to have challenges which we cannot sustain. Our people want service delivery. You cannot deliver services when you are incompetent. We continue to fight for qualifications for councillors. You cannot continue representing a sub-county where a sub-county chief is a graduate when you are a P0 graduate. We must change the way we do things, ladies and gentlemen. If we want results, we must be result-oriented. Our accounting officers must sign performance contracts. Our district chairpersons must sign performance contracts with the line ministry to have results. We must continue to hold government accountable. And this is the theme of the scorecard. Government is me and you. Where do you report? Where do I report? Ladies and gentlemen, we must civically engage our people. We must fight for the mindset of the leaders and our own people. Before we go to our people, we must change the mindset of our leaders. And I think this is more key than anything. I want to thank once again Accord for endeavoring. I think the research has showed that during the last elections, all those, I think 75%, if not 80%, those districts had scorecard in them, the leaders were able to come back because the councillors were able to engage the people, the district chairpersons were able to engage the people. I come from a very small district which was carved out of Masaka, called Ruwengo. I had to fight and make sure the scorecard came to Ruwengo, and I have one of the best councillors and I have the best results. Irrespective of other things, please don't go there, but we have at least some results. We have been able to put up a district headquarters within the last 4 years, yet Masaka, where we came from, has not even put up a toilet. We cannot keep quiet of that. We are proud of that, and we don't have any penny from government. Where do we get the money? What are you doing in your own district? If you are not a district chairperson, what are you doing in your own office? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and welcome to the scorecard. I once again want to thank DGF and the GAP for sponsoring this and making us live. Thank you.
give Mr. George Mutabazi another round of applause, because he's telling you even results that are in only 4 years they've been able to put up district headquarters. But for as long as he can remember, Masaka has yet even to put a brick for the foundation. Is that what you said, sir? Okay. So Masaka, you have been challenged, and so are other districts that are maybe are even older than Lwengo. May I invite the representative of the Minister of Local Government, Mr. John Genda Walala, to come and speak to us. Mr. Walala, sir.
Thank you, MC. The President of Olga, Board of Trustees of Accord, the Executive Director, Accord, Head of Programs, DGF, District Chairpersons present, Chief Administrative Officers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Allow me to convey the apologies of the Minister of Local Government and the Permanent Secretary who would have been here. But due to conditions beyond their control, they had to delegate me to come and attend this function. My name is John Genda Walala. I'm Director of Local Government Inspection at the Ministry of Local Government. And my work, among others, involves checking on the performance and the compliance with laws, regulations, guidelines of local governments throughout the country. So I think when they chose me to come and represent them here, I was one of the best choices. But before I read the speech that I have been given for the minister, just allow me to make one or two comments, because the protocol does not allow me to read the minister's speech, then I make personal comments. I can easily find a warning letter on my desk, which I don't want to. First of all, I commend the Chairman, Ulga, for the comments and for candid discussion in his brief remarks this morning. And also Accord for this work that we've been doing for some good time now. I remember about 5 or 6 years ago when I was here to represent again my PS at a launch of a similar scorecard. There were a lot of concerns about what Accord is trying to do to local governments and the Ministry of Local Government. And I remember at one time, it was like Accord versus Ministry of Local Government and others. And I remember I engaged the AD then, and I said, you know, this should be a partnership of trying to ensure that the challenges that we are having in implementing programs in ensuring service delivery is realized in local governments should be the overriding factor to bring us together, Ministry of Local Government, Accord, and local governments. I'm happy to note that we have quite a number of local governments that can stand up proudly and say because of the intervention of Accord, they've been able to improve their performance. And even those that had or have challenges, they've been helped to appreciate why Accord is coming in to carry out this evaluation. Now, having realized that some local governments are performing well, others are not really performing well, the challenge to us, and it's all of us, how can we put our heads together to ensure that apart from just complying, for instance, with requirements of the laws, we do see real tangible transformation in local governments, like what the Chairman Lwengo is saying. Want someone to come and say, we took over this local government in the last 5 years, but as of now, we have all our roads motorable. We've been able to reduce the households that are in subsistence farming by 50%. We've been able to reduce illiteracy in our local government, or in my local government, for instance, by 20%. That we've been able to reduce poverty by this percentage. So that now we can talk about transformation that's going to benefit the masses. That's part of my job. And I'm happy to hear, and I'll be happy to get more local governments that can give testimonies of Mr. Mutabazi. And obviously, I'll visit them and be able to confirm that what we are telling the world now is actually happening in our local governments. Because ultimately, when we look at, as government, when we look at the 23 strategic guidelines that we are given, each and every sector, local government inclusive, we have an area that we should be actually focusing on. And we should be able to come every end of year to report that in this area of reducing the 68% of the households that are under subsistence farming, we've been able to use them to 40%. Then we know we are moving. Having said that, allow me now read the minister's speech verbatim. I'm greatly honored to be invited to address the 7th National Local Government Council Scorecard Report, a forum that aims at promoting vertical and horizontal policy discourse on contemporary public policy and governance issues. I'm informed that the overall objective of this forum is to bring together individual leaders and professionals in public sector, private sector, civil society, media, policy researchers, and any other interested parties to focus on an honest, focused, and bipartisan discourse on contemporary public policy. I wish to thank the leadership of ACCORD for organizing this event, which gives us an opportunity to strengthen our commitment to consolidate the achievements of Uganda's decentralization policy and good governance so far attained. It also provides us an opportunity and forge a way forward on how best to step up our democratic decentralization. You all recall that government adopted the policy of decentralization in 1992 as a vehicle for efficient and effective service delivery to communities. The country opted for devolution, which is an elaborate form of decentralization, under which a wide range of powers, functions, and responsibilities, including political, administrative, fiscal, legislative, planning, and judicial powers, were transferred to local governments at various levels. The decentralization policy was not meant to be simply a goal to shift responsibility for development to local authorities, but an instrument aimed at improving local democracy, effectiveness, efficiency, and sustainability in the delivery of essential services. It aimed at improving the generation and management of resources. The policy has significantly improved service delivery by reducing the distance between households and service delivery points. This has been made possible because of the unrivaled commitment and selfless effort by all of us here to implement the decentralization policy. Special thanks go to the advocates, Coalition for Development and Environment, ACCORD, a public policy research and advocacy think tank that has for the last 8 years been partnering with us to implement the local government Scorecard initiative. The Scorecard has helped improve performance of elected leaders, measuring their performance against pledged priorities. As earlier mentioned, under the decentralized system of governance, powers and functions over service delivery were devolved to local government units. The system provides for a clear line of responsibility over service delivery from the village all through to the district. As we struggle to ensure and strengthen service delivery in local governments, I cannot hesitate to call upon ACCORD management to move deeper and assess the performance of key and salient structures like school management committees and health management committees. This will enable the local leaders to focus on key issues affecting service delivery, like teacher absenteeism in schools and supply of drugs in health centers. The Ministry of Local Government continues to value partnership efforts geared towards improved performance in service delivery. Therefore, it suffices to say that we need to move a step and evaluate the community satisfaction with the services delivered by local governments while ranking the best sector service deliverer. This action stimulates improved service delivery. As central government, we are committed to create the necessary environment through policy and guidelines, mentorship, advocacy, and technical capacity to implement the decentralized policy. As I conclude, allow me to take this opportunity to once again thank ACCORD and everyone present here for the tireless effort in driving decentralization forward. It's now my honor and pleasure to launch the 7th National Local Government Council's Scorecard report. For God and my country, I thank you.
Give him another round of applause, because now we are officially into the launching of the Scorecard report, the 7th Local Government Scorecard report. Thank you very much, sir. You can clearly see that the minister recognizes the fact that the scorecard has helped them to make self-evaluation. He has also noted that there has been increased service delivery because of the scorecard, and that elected leaders have been helped by the scorecard because they know that this glare of light is on them, so they have no choice but to work for their people and for the district. May I now invite the Executive Director, Dr. Arthur Bainomujisha, Executive Director of ACCORD, Dr. Arthur Bainomujisha, to come and speak to us on the scorecard, the theory of change and impact. He's coming in now so that after his presentation, I will invite a representative of the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance, to speak to us. He will have listened to the theory of change and its impact, because the Minister of Finance releases the money. So you will speak to us from a point of information, sir. Let us listen to Dr. Bainomujisha.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamara. I spoke before the prayer. I hope Bishop, the prayer also covered my welcome remarks. We pray at ACCORD. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I make a presentation about the background, theory of change, and conceptual framework, and the impact of the scorecard to date, I wanted to appreciate and recognize the team behind this scorecard, the 7th scorecard that we are launching. If the ACCORD team can stand up for recognition, then I will speak. That's the team. And yeah, you should have started that side. That's the team behind this scorecard: Professor Winston's, Professor Kiran, Mrs. Tamare, Eugene, and then, of course, the researchers from around the country. So my presentation, next slide, please. My presentation is organized along those sub-themes. I talk briefly about ACCORD, the background, the Local Government Council Scorecard, abbreviated as LGISCI, and then I discuss the policy program, the theory of change, and the impact of the scorecard to date. Next slide. ACCORD, for some of you, and very fast. ACCORD is a public policy research think tank. We are based in Kampala, but we work in East Africa, and we have a regional board. And our core business is to generate alternative policy proposals and sell them to the governments to improve policy making and policy implementation to serve our people better. We're about 18 years old, and by the standards of think tanks or NGOs in Africa, we are not that we've survived, because most of them die at 5 years. Next slide. Now, I started my presentation with a quotation, and that quotation was by the former Minister of Local Government, Honorable Adolf Mwesige. And he said, and I quote, Uganda did not only seek to empower the people, but also needed to speed up development and improvement of the quality of life of its citizens. Decentralization was therefore envisaged as a vital means of embracing transparency and accountability in the local governments. It would also promote good governance and participatory democracy across the country. It sought to empower citizens, democratize state power, and facilitate modernization of communities. It meant the transfer of power and resources from the center through districts to the village local councils. That's the Minister Adolf is now the Minister of Defense. And so that was the promise. And what the scorecard, of course, does is now to see the practice. That is the promise. So how has this promise been fulfilled? Next slide, my brother. So the local government council scorecard is a partnership initiative implemented by the Uganda Local Government Association, as represented here by its president and Accord. And we designed this initiative in 2008 and started implementing it in 2009. It's a long-term initiative because we know that it seeks to strengthen democratic decentralization, and you cannot do it in a short time. It takes, actually we designed it to last for about 10 years, and then we evaluate and see the progress, because consolidating local democracy takes time. So Accord, having worked, the decision to come up with this initiative was because we had come to a conclusion at Accord, having worked with national level ministries, departments, parliament, we realized that democracy was not becoming rooted, because working with national level institutions, basically you are dealing with the supply side of democracy, because democracy has two sides: the supply side, which is the government and its machinery, and the demand side, which is the citizens that's supposed to be served by that infrastructure. But if you empower the supply side and you do not empower the demand side, the citizens, then actually you can cause an irresponsive government. So we decided now to go and work with the local governments and citizens, so that if we empowered them and they demand from the center, and the center can supply, so the wheel of democracy can then move constantly, supplying goods and services and political accountability to the citizens. That's the whole point. Next slide. Let me also say that while we assess performance of local government leaders periodically and communicate their performance to the citizens, it's never a name and shame initiative. We are not seeking to shame our leaders, but we think that leadership is a responsibility. That you choose, if you choose to go to seek political power, you have chosen to serve your people selflessly. And as such, and that is why I want to appreciate the local leaders who have accepted to be assessed. It's like doing an exam every after 2 years, and you have accepted. I know that some districts, when we came there and they performed badly, some of them had council sessions that decided to chase us away. And some of them are here. Fortunately enough, we had Urga, and chasing Accord, which has a partnership arrangement with Urga, been chasing themselves from Urga. So they stayed and accepted the pain. 3-4 years down the road, they are the best performing districts. And I think Lira, the chairman, Lira is here. You can attest to that later on. We had to do a lot of conflict resolution when they had, his speaker had scored 26%. He said, me graduate to score 26%. So a council session sat to chase Accord from Lira. And I'm happy that the chairman was strong and they braved the pain. Several years down the road, they are the best performing districts, and their council has been returned, most of them, because they performed well. Yeah, so let me move faster. Next slide. Basically, that's the background. So, but what is the conceptual framework? What is decentralization? And I will take a short time on this because I have 15 minutes. Centralization has been defined as the transfer of authority, responsibility, and accountability from the central government to local governments. Democratic decentralization looks beyond local government administration and service delivery to institutions and structures that enable people to make decisions that affect their lives. Democratization places much emphasis on the presence of mechanisms for fair political competition, transparency, and accountability. In the case of Uganda, the adoption of decentralization policy was premised on the realization that centralized approach to management of public affairs and development planning, adopted at independence in 1962, had not been effective in poverty reduction, improving people's lives, or welfare, service delivery, and good governance, as captured by the opening remarks by the former minister. It was a bold decision. Decentralization was also undertaken because Uganda was transiting from war to peace. And I think it helped the country to very quickly heal and start the process of development. Decentralization is a conflict management mechanism because it avails people a broad opportunity for political participation, for decision making about matters that affect their lives. Remember, we are coming from a centralized state where people were fighting for few positions at the center, and that trapped this country into vicious conflicts, bloodletting, economic despair, and hopelessness. So decentralization breathed that hope. And I want, of course, to appreciate the leaders at that time. I think this was visionary. If we were in America, we would call them the founding fathers, for having come up with decentralization. It was really a new wheel that would transition this country from the conflict trap to transformation. And I know, you know that over time, decentralization has been seen in Uganda as a success story, and other countries have been coming to learn about how Uganda is doing decentralization. But if it was doing well, why did we come up with this initiative? Let's move on very quickly to the policy problem that we realized. Eugene, move on to the policy problem. What was the policy problem? And the policy problem could be found in the rationale for decentralization and what had happened between 1992 and 2008 in this country that warranted us to come in. The rationale for decentralization is to improve delivery of public goods and services and deepen democracy by empowering local governments to engage in localized planning and program implementation. But also it seeks to create citizens' control of government to enhance accountability through democratic processes. So after about, from 1992 to 2008, we realized there were certain challenges. Yes, there was some progress, but there were serious challenges in terms of stagnation and reversal of the gains that had been achieved in decentralization. And Accord and Ulga said, no, decentralization is a good model. Let us deepen it and make it work for the people. And so next slide shows the policy problem. For example, we had discovered that under decentralization, of course, Uganda had achieved for almost 10 years, 7.5 economic growth, the GDP, for 10 years consecutively. The economy was growing well. And by 1997, UPE was introduced. So many children were enrolled, actually from 2.5 children, 7.5 children, 5 million Ugandans went to school. Wonderful. But by that time that we came up with this initiative, while there was a lot of school enrollment, few children were completing primary 7. While there were a lot of increased enrollment, most children could not read and write. And we said, this is good, but if our children can complete without being able to read and write, or calculate a simple mathematical problem, then there is a problem. We need now to support government and deepen UPE. In terms of the primary health care, a lot of health centers built health centers 2s and 3s, but were not functional. Drug stockouts, absenteeism of health workers, rude workers, to the extent that in every year, no, actually every day, about 19 women still die while giving birth. Fearing to go to the health centers, decide to give birth at home and die. So we said, no, government has built these health centers. They must function. So this is part of this was part of the design. Then we looked at the road sector. Impossible. You would be looking at one of the pictures. And I'm glad that government has now prioritized infrastructure development. A lot of money is going to the road sector. But without roads, you cannot make progress. A lot of money had actually gone into roads. And Dr. Ezra Suruma here will attest to this, that Accord and the Ministry of Finance, we organized a high-level policy dialogue at Sheraton, where we were convinced the Ministry of Finance to put more money in roads and in agriculture. And money was put there. He's here. You can appreciate him. He's a former Minister of Finance. Why don't you appreciate him? The Minister of Finance put more money in roads. They put money in the natural resources sector. But the roads were not there. The roads, they became impossible. There is a time, and Honorable Kasaja will tell you when he lost about 4,000 pineapples, because not even a border could reach the garden, the pineapple garden, because of the poor roads. Now, so money going to roads, but there are no roads, because of course corruption and some constraints. So corruption is one of the drivers that forced us to work with local governments to promote transparency and accountability. The environment and natural resources sector, a deepening crisis in environmental degradation. Even up to now, you'll see that actually environmental degradation that resulted in prolonged drought last year has affected the economic growth of this country. And local governments are at the center of actually saving this country. So that also threatened us. The tree cover for this country has reduced now to 9%. The tree cover now stands at 9% and is continuing to decline. And unless local governments prioritize environmental protection and restoration, this country cannot make progress. And we are here to support you. Finally, we had also seen that there was a problem of inadequate financing of local government. And the president of Urga has talked about it. More mouth in local governments. 80% of our people in local governments, but 12% of the budget this year goes there. Of course, there has been explanation, but we think that there is a need for adequate financing, and that money should also, there should be a provision for money that is not conditional, so that best performing districts can use that money to invest in priority areas. Next slide. So these are some of the issues that forced us. A disengaged citizenry, citizens that were begging. These were citizens of the country that do not know their rights, duties, and obligations, and only begged the things that belong to them. So the project seeks to empower citizens to demand efficient service delivery and political accountability as a right, because they are citizens of this country. Finally, creation of districts, and actually the next slide. We had also realized that continuous creation of districts, because people demand districts, and they think that by demanding this, it will improve service delivery. Then, of course, they demand government supplies. But the districts had increased the cost of public administration, and they were not productive centers, but consumptive centers, in a way drawing this country's energy back instead of making progress. Now, the map there shows you Uganda in 1994. Show me the next slide. Now, that is the map of Uganda, actually, before the recent districts were added. Now, those are the districts that we have. And so we thought, and actually we have an MOU with the Ministry of Finance, and we want to appeal to government that actually, rather than creating more districts, you would rather deepen or increase the efficiency in the supply or delivery of services. People will not ask for districts, because districts have become a burden to areas that have been created. Next slide. As I wind up. What is our theory of change? Our theory of change is premised on a demand-side mode of democracy, which I had talked about. Regional assessment and communicating performance of leaders. As a matter of fact, I think last year, we have leaders who are seated here who have been actually helped by the scorecard to come up. I know we have members of parliament now, we have district chairpersons that were elected and opposed. Chairman Kabarore is there. Mr. Rwabuhinga, you could put up your hand for recognition. Chairman Rwabuhinga was returned because of his constant best performance for 3 years. People said, go home, we know. You don't need to campaign, we know your performance. Chairman Mapenduzi, I know you campaigned, but it wasn't hard for you to win. Basically, we are trying to build democracy by building local democracy, because if you build democracy from below, then that democracy will stay. Next slide, I wonder. What has been the impact? And I'm going to summarize this in the interest of time. We are, after 8 years of implementing service, this scorecard, we've seen improvement in the council debates. Gone are the days in the 35 districts where we operate, where the council sits to discuss the color of the car of the chairman. They discuss issues of service delivery in their constituencies. So the quality of debates in the council has greatly improved. We have also seen a great improvement in terms of service delivery monitoring, because that is where we place most of the points in the monitoring. We put 45 points so that we can draw you there. But we have also seen that Ministry of Finance change. For example, increasing, because through advocacy with URGA, the Ministry of Finance has increased facilitation for councillors from 100,000 to 250,000. It is still not enough, but that has come through advocacy. If you don't appreciate it, but for us, we've tried, but we also have agreed with the Ministry of Finance not to return the money from the local governments to the center, citing lack of absorption capacity. Now, once the money is not absorbed, they allow it to stay there. It used to come back. Through advocacy campaign, that has been stopped. Yeah, so in the final analysis, let me say this, that this report, the seventh report, has come to a conclusion that decentralization is the best vehicle for delivering service delivery and economic transformation. And therefore, we want to appeal to government to actually match its support with adequate financing and a condition of financing so that centralization can deepen and deliver on its commitment. And I want to end with this story, because when the NRM came up with, they chose a comprehensive democratic decentralization, and all research findings have shown that Uganda has done well. Of course, sometimes it may not be matched with other statistics. But when we see some tendencies of decentralization, then we fear, because some of the functions of local governments have been decentralized. And I'm glad Mr. Warara is here. Of course, citing inefficiency of local governments, our finding shows that if you invested in building capacity of local governments, you would not need to decentralize any function. And I want to say that it is this model that can be a game changer for Africa. In 2000, The Economist magazine characterized Africa as a hopeless continent. Hopeless because of the rampant conflicts, economic despair, HIV/AIDS, and all of these banditry activities. In 2013, the same Economist magazine characterized Africa as a rising continent. Africa is rising. I think in our case, Uganda is rising because of this decentralization, and that's why we must support it to make sure that it delivers. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Give Dr. Bainomujisha another round of applause. He has told us why they needed to do this scorecard. I was listening to a few pointers, especially when he went to the area of health. And earlier we used to hear the number that 19 women are dying while giving birth. You know, to many of us in this hall, that may just sound like a number. But think about it. Somebody in the villages could be mourning a mother, a sister, a wife, a daughter, or a friend. So it's not just a number. It is somebody they know that passed on when that life shouldn't have been lost. So when they saw things like these, they're like, let us shed a light on issues like those. And then he also talked of the road sector. It's true, the biggest chunk of our money is put into infrastructure development. Yes, URA collects. Yes, Parliament allocates. But is there effective utilization? So people like these are supposed, in the local government, are supposed to see how things are done. And finally, if I can also pick from his speech, he talked of 9% of the tree cover for Uganda. Where are we headed? If we can only have 9% remaining of the tree cover, then we really have a problem on our hands. Because The environment can live without us, but we cannot live without the environment. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite Commissioner of Finance and Planning, Mr. Magona Mweru Ishamel, from the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Mr. Magona, sir.
Thank you very much, MC. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by bringing the apologies of the Permanent Secretary of the Treasury, who was supposed to be here, but he abruptly had to go for a meeting to discuss the issue of salaries for next year. And so, much as he's not here, he's with you in spirit. I have his speech, but since I've been able to listen to the presentation by the Executive Director Accord, let me start by saying that, yes, I think the theory of a change is a very important aspect to consider in whatever we do. And in fact, for us at the Ministry of Finance, we are applying the theory of a change. As you might know, our budget process has been transformed. We are now on program-based budgeting. And the basis is really simple. Because in the past, we have focused largely on inputs and outputs. We did not pay much attention to the outcomes. So starting this year, we have introduced a program-based budgeting, and basically it's about the theory of change. So what is the theory of change with respect to the budget? So you start by looking at the inputs, the things that we actually get through the budget, you know, the salaries, and so on and so forth. Those are the inputs. And then we say, once you have those inputs, how do you then apply them to implement the activities? And of course, when you are doing that, the issues of efficiency will have to come in. But when you have implemented activities, the question then is, so what? So that's why the issue of outputs becomes very clear. So when you have a budget, you have to think through the budget and how that budget will translate into improvements in the well-being of our people. And that's why we are saying our focus now is on results. It's not just the outputs. Because let me give you an example. If you construct a classroom is an output. But would construction of a classroom result into, for example, improved literacy and numeracy? The answer is mixed. Yes, it is true that you need a classroom as an environment, but actually if you are going to improve literacy and numeracy, you need the classroom. The classroom must be utilized, because we know, we've seen that the health centers built and they're not used. So having a health center as an output is not sufficient. You need to have it properly utilized, to have it functional, equipped with staff, with medicines. That's when you can now say, yes, we are going to achieve the outcomes in the health sector, in the education sector, and all sectors, you know, if you look at the theory of change. So I think I applaud Accord for actually looking at this subject in the matter that you have looked at it. I do not want to respond to some of the issues that he said, but let me comment on two. the issue of return of unspent funds by local governments. Yes, I know that we tried to propose it to Parliament, and we had tried to propose a mechanism for that through what we call revoting, that if money is not spent by the end of the year, that money can be reverted. Because you see, once money is not spent at the end of the year, the law says the appropriation expires. So you need fresh appropriation for it to be utilized. But when we proposed this to Parliament, it was not accepted. And so that's why I want to say that I think that this particular aspect is an issue of fresh mandate through Parliament and through fresh appropriation. I also want to recognize the issue of the proliferation of administrative units. I want to say that Minister of Finance is your ally, but the good thing is that you have the Minister of Local Government. So I think that when you want this issue addressed, the first person you need to target is the Minister of Local Government. Because finance, your allies, we know that creation of new administrative units does not create money. And in fact, when you look at what has happened, even in terms of staffing across local governments, it's a critical issue. And simply because the structures that we have created are not sustainable in terms of the way we can finance them, unless we get new money, which for the time being we don't have. So I thought I would just respond to those two or three areas, and then let me now turn to the speech for which I'm representing the Permanent Secretary and Secretary of the Treasury. And it goes as follows. The President, Uganda Local Governments Association, the district chairpersons and mayors here present, the chief administrative officers and town clerks here present, the executive director, Accord, distinguished guests, all protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen. I take this opportunity to thank the executive director of Accord for inviting me to this meeting to review and discuss the findings from the just concluded financial 2016-2017 Local Government Council Scorecard report. I have been asked to make a presentation on local government financing reforms and implications on service delivery in Uganda. Under the decentralization policy, local governments have the primary mandate of providing frontline services, while central government provides policy guidance through sector policies, standards, sector budget guidelines, technical supervision, and support. According to studies that were undertaken in 2012 by the Local Government Finance Commission on the review of local government financing, and another one which was jointly done in 2013 by my ministry and the World Bank on service delivery with more districts in Uganda, and was focusing on the fiscal challenges and opportunities for reform. It was noted that local governments face a number of challenges in implementing their mandate. Notably, the decline in the real value of local governments' grants, the inequitable distribution of grant resources, and the inefficiencies in the use of these resources. To address these issues, government under the leadership of my ministry has initiated reforms of the financing of local governments. The key objectives of this reform are to improve the adequacy, equity, and efficiency of local government financing. To date, together with you, the stakeholders, we have registered some achievements under this reform. And this is evidenced by, one, the introduction of a new superstructure of grants, with each sector having a maximum of one non-wage one wage, and one development grant. So if you look at a sector, we now have one wage grant, one non-wage grant, and one development grant. In the past, we had a multiplicity of grants, and this was creating a problem in terms of even the number of grant guidelines that were to be provided and also the reporting requirements. The second reform is the review of sector allocation formula by introducing new parameters and weightings to enhance equitable allocation of resources to local governments. And the third one is the introduction of the online transfer information management system to enhance the transparency in the allocation of resources, among others. I also want to say that under the intergovernmental fiscal transfer reforms, we will be addressing the issues of adequacy, equity, and efficiency, starting, of course, with education and health, which are really some of our critical programs that we need to address. Further, to ensure that the resources which are sent to local governments are efficiently used, a multi-sectoral committee under the leadership of the Office of the Prime Minister as the overall coordinator of all government monitoring and evaluation has done tremendous work in developing an improved local government performance assessment system which will impact on local government grant allocations. This is intended to incentivize efficient fiscal management at the local government level and improve systems and procedures of importance for service delivery. The first assessment is scheduled to take place this coming January 2018. The results of the assessment will inform the appointment or reappointment of accounting officers and also the allocation of the development grants. Now, to ensure that local governments are provided with sufficient incentives to improve performance, my ministry and the relevant sector ministries are in the process of seeking for additional financing to the respective development grants. The Local Government Council Scorecard, which assesses the performance of elected leaders at the local government level, needs to complement the National Local Government Performance Assessment, which assesses the local government assessment, the local government performance as an entity, if we are to improve service delivery performance in the local governments. We therefore urge ACCORD to ensure synergies with the local government performance assessment system under the leadership of the Office of the Prime Minister. Now, despite the numerous reforms that the government has been undertaking, there are still a number of bottlenecks that are affecting implementation of the budget and service delivery, and these include the following. Firstly, delays in submission of performance reports, and despite the repeated reminders, there is still a practice of late submission of quarterly and annual reports. And so to address this, my ministry has issued an instruction for this to inform the appointment or reappointment of accounting officers. So delayed submission of performance reports is going to be one of the criteria for appointment or reappointment of accounting officers. There are also challenges in the procurement and contract management. And this has led to persistent delays in implementation of government programs and projects. Key among these include the failure by accounting officers to adhere to procurement procedures and delays to initiate the procurement processes. As a result, a number of critical development projects either delayed to take off or would be interrupted, and significant amounts of released resources remain unutilized at the end of financial year amid poor service delivery. I'd like to say that we recognize that this is a problem, and so as a ministry, in spite of the the refusal by Parliament to adjust or to allow for use of unspent balances, what we do is that we release the last development grant in the third quarter. So the last release for development to local governments is done in the month of January, and that gives you 6 months of implementation. So that should really obviate the need for utilizing or having unspent balances. So in addition, the procurement process is still faced with challenges, including mismanagement of contracts and corruption, especially in areas of compensation for the rights of way, and inflated contract costs, which are later established after investigations. You'll notice that, for example, when there was an investigation under UNRWA, a lot of these challenges were actually identified. And a lot of these are actually happening even where we have not had investigation. And I think that these are issues that need to be seriously addressed. So to address these challenges, government is strengthening the entire project management cycle, which will also involve ensuring the project budgets reflect the real cost of implementation of the project before approval. I think the point here is that sometimes we borrow money for projects when we are not ready. We know that for a number of projects we have faced issues of acquisition of the right of way, and this takes a lot of time to complete. So in the process, while we have borrowed money which is attracting interest, we are not able to start implementation. So, and this is really a key challenge that needs to be addressed through this strengthening of the entire project cycle. We shall also continue to strengthen the oversight function, including monitoring, evaluation, audit, accountability, investigation, and prosecution of those involved in the mismanagement of public resources, of course working together with other arms of government. The third area challenge is poor supervision systems and failure to enforce standards. And this is mainly attributed to the poor performance culture and attitude to work by those responsible. In many cases, we have staff absenteeism, especially in health and education sectors, failure to monitor and supervise projects leading to shorter works, misappropriation of public funds, delayed implementation, failure to prioritize resource allocation towards core service delivery areas, and in a few cases, due to limited resources and technical capacity in terms of human resources. Therefore, to address the above challenges, we have embarked on the following strategies. The first is to exercise high levels of efficiency in resource allocation by prioritizing allocation to the key service delivery areas. Government will also exercise zero tolerance to poor performance by enforcing performance contracts and sanctions for poor performance. Thirdly, we need to strengthen budget credibility with strong emphasis on preparation of quality work plans, adherence to procurement procedures, including preparation of clear procurement plans, timely initiation of procurement processes in order to address the key challenges in budget preparation and implementation, and fourthly, enforce the timely submission of accountability and budget performance reports in accordance with the law. In conclusion, government is committed to improve the adequacy, equity, and efficiency of local government service delivery financing and address the challenges affecting service delivery. With these few remarks, I wish to once again thank you for inviting me to address you and wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, give Commissioner Magona another round of applause. And I picked at the very end of his presentation the things they intend to do. He talked of efficient resource allocation. He wants to see performance contracts coming on board, and wants to see that the procurement sector, everything is done according to the procurement guidelines and laws. And at the end of the day, they will demand accountability for every penny. So I think that is where we should be headed. May I recognize GAP, which in partnership with USAID and UKAID have done a good job in the local governments of Uganda. Let's clap for GAP. Also among us, we have an association called Kick Corruption Out of Uganda, which is a partner in Kibale and Kisoro. Clap for them also. And among us also we have Democracy Governance Facility, DGF, and DFID. All these are partners who are helping to ensure there's efficient service delivery in our country. Clap for them as well. Now, we have reached this moment. I'm going to ask for 20 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes where we get to hear from you in some form of a plenary discussion, because we have listened to the minister's representative, we have listened to the PS, we have listened to the president of ULGA and the ED Accord. We also want to hear from you because you have also been able to see your own performances in the districts and even the previous scorecards. So I'm going to ask you to give us your submission, your question or your comment in enriching our discussion. I'll ask you just take a minute and not more than a minute. You tell us where you're from and make your submission. May I request somebody to move around the microphones so that we can have an engagement in the next 15 minutes. Issues that affect us are, yesterday I watched somebody who is a man that is very gentle. I watched him on television. He's gentle, he's a district chairman. He rarely gets angry. But yesterday he got angry. He got angry because of his environment in northern Uganda. You know why? I saw him crack a whip. And somehow I called him. I said, this is not you. He said, yes, this is not me, but somehow the environment, if it is destroyed, we will. But I also saw another man also crack a whip in Luengo. So it looks like the Luengo cracking of whips is very infectious. It has now caught the people in Gulu. Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
You have a microphone there. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much indeed. My name is Milton Kato, Kao Gulu. I stand to appreciate what we are doing with the accord. And there is an area that was not mentioned. That is the time the council meetings were taking. We used to have council meetings that would take 2-3 days, a council session. I'm proud we have reduced council meetings now to 6 hours. In some districts we have moved to 4 hours. Just because we have built capacity of the standing committees of council to discuss all issues within committees and bring resolutions to council. That's very good indeed, and I'm happy without that, because we save on the monies that we would spend on councils for 3 days. I want to ask, we are in 35 districts right now. Is there a way of how accord is looking to spread to another bigger number so that we can cover big numbers of the districts under this scorecard? Thank you.
All right. I think Dr. Benomijisha or Mr. George Mutavazi will answer you. Okay, I think you come to this side now. Please make it precise and concise so that we can at least pick like 6 views from the audience. And then there's a gentleman in black. Oh, you have a microphone there, sir.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Bernard Mugasi, District Chair of Mbale. I stand to recognize Accord for what they have done to most of us. One thing which has struck me as a chairman is that previously the councillors were not so eager to go out and follow through the implementation of projects in the district. In most cases, they used to think that that's the work of the executive only. But with the intervention of Accord, that attitude has changed, because it's one of the areas where they are marked as far as Scorecard is concerned. And we appreciate that if you continue, if Accord continues like that, it will be to the advantage of our country. We want also Accord to go further and start possibly interacting with the local people, with the residents, and give them deep understanding of what they expect from them, or of what the country expects from the locals, the demand side of our politics. And that will really deepen what we are doing. And we want to pray that the development partners, please, your money is not misplaced. It's doing a real contribution to this country. And we pray that please continue supporting them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard Mujasi. Okay, we have a lady in red at the back there.
Thank you. My name is Perry Aritua, and I work for the Women's Democracy Network. My question goes to the chairperson of Luengo. I would have loved to hear what he has been able to do to attract the partners in his district, so that the others who have not had the opportunity to build local government offices like Arua can learn. Thank you.
Okay. I can see a hand at the back. So, yeah, at the very end.
Thank you very much. I am Mark Tivu, Kaolera. I like the theory of change, linking the demand side to the supply side. There is an element of the intervening variable which has not clearly come out. We have cases in the development process implementation where there is a government program which is very good, but the intervening program of undermining or sabotaging for political reasons. For me, the program may be good. UPE per se is not bad, but somebody comes and pronounces that this is a very bad program. What would have happened in Uganda if UPE was not there? If one has to ask that question. What will have been our literacy level now, and what is it now? So some of these intervening variables need to be taken into consideration, and let those people who don't understand these programs maybe suggest improvements other than to say the program is bad. Inputs are supplied. I was in Makueni in Kenya. I saw how fruit growing in that county of Kenya is trying to improve the livelihood of the Kenyans.
But Mr. Cow, I thought the people are trying to be critical, not necessarily to say the whole thing is bad. If I may ask,
I'm just putting the intervening variable that should be put in context. I'm saying, how do we put that in context and put an improvement? I'm not condemning them. Do you get me? That is science. I thank you.
Okay. I think you need to go this side, sir. You have a microphone? If you could, yes, at the extreme left.
Thank you. Cosmas Berhanga is my name. District Chairperson Masindi. My concern goes to engagement of the technical team in this exercise, because service delivery squarely hinges on technical team, and the people who take much of the decisions. And the politicians, our role is basically monitoring But when we are doing this scorecard, a lot of emphasis and effort is put on the political side, disregarding the technical team. I would recommend that we come up with clear indicators also to assess the technical team concurrently with the political